I wish that you would step back from that ledge, my friend. We could cut ties with all of the message boards you've been living in. Things were not that bad last night. I have 7 thoughts on the Chiefs' loss to the Chargers. And this is a video that will be in the 2025 Game Reviews playlist here on the channel. And let's start here. This is a loss. I'm okay with that. Why am I okay with that? Well, it's not a nail-biting win, and that sort of hurts. That kind of sucks. We invested an entire evening in a game that the Chiefs did not win. There haven't been many of those in the past few years. However, this was not an embarrassing implosion. I have said over the past few months now, ever since a certain game that happened between Kansas City and Philadelphia, that the Chiefs have no idea how to just lose a game. They have no idea how to lose a game in not embarrassing fashion. They have no idea how to lose a game in a way that is not the most frustrating thing you have ever seen. They haven't had very many straight-up losses the past few years at all. This is what that feels like. This was just a loss. The Chargers came out and scored more points than did the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, the defense was a little bit irritating. Really hard to watch those defensive backs. I talked about that extensively in the live stream last night. But it's not the worst thing in the world. It wasn't as if someone went off for 187 receiving yards or something crazy. I believe Ladd McConkey led the Chargers with 79 receiving yards. We'll get to it later. I have the numbers down there, but nothing entirely out of the purview of what might happen in a football game. There was nothing all that wild that happened. It's just at the end of these 60 minutes of football, the score did not add up to the Kansas City Chiefs being on top. The number 2 thing, this team was not entirely unprepared. An unprepared team does not execute that field goal before halftime. An unprepared team does not adjust to losing an offensive playmaker on the 3rd play from scrimmage. An unprepared team does not take those penalties in stride. An unprepared team does not put the clamps down on defense the way the team did several times last night. Not when it mattered most, but several times they were able to do that. Just think of Drue Tranquill. But it was, for what it's worth, another weird game. In a different hemisphere, different feeling timeouts because of the YouTube stuff. It was a long bus ride to the stadium, reportedly, etc. All sorts of not, hey, it's noon on a Sunday. Once the Kansas City Chiefs can settle back into some of that, hey, it's noon on a Sunday, maybe the football will feel more like football. That just didn't feel like a game last night. It felt like an event. And I think that the Chiefs have played far too many of those types of games over the past couple of years. The third thing worth talking about here is something that should be inspiring. Something that should give you confidence moving forward for this team. There is fire in this team. They did not take the Super Bowl loss in stride. They're not going to rest on their laurels because many members of this team have 3 Super Bowl rings. That does not matter to them. They want to win the next one, not savor the last one. Travis Kelce headbutted Jawan Taylor. Drue Tranquill got into it with Chris Jones, and there have been no shortage of lip readings on that incident. But all of the fighting was infighting. It means that they are focused and they are serious. They did not expect that loss to the Chargers, and they're not blaming the Chargers. They're blaming each other. They know that they can do better. They were punishing each other, not taking swings at opposing players on the field, after which, however much contact was made with the face head area, they were not ejected. Tyre Tart. Number 4. The offense is going to score some points this season. Did they score all of the points that we wanted them to? Absolutely not. But they were down 3 of their top 4 wide receivers, and they had explosive plays anyway. Missing 3 of their 4 top wide receivers, can you name other teams in the NFL that would have had 3 30-plus yard passing plays? I don't know that I could. 3 30-plus yard passing plays to different players. This was not one player going out there and dominating. Tyquan Thornton had a rip roar. Hollywood Thornton had a doozy. Travis Kelce had a dinger. These were big plays from this offense, the type of big plays that we did not see last season. The Chiefs are going to score some points. The Chiefs are going to move the football. I still have yet to see the diagnosis on Xavier Worthy. I doubt we will until maybe tomorrow afternoon. Now I say that, and it probably has already dropped, but I said last night I believe that's probably a 3 to 6 week thing. If that is a shoulder dislocation type deal, I think you're looking at a month. And guys, hopefully Jalen Royals is only out week 1. This would be an absolutely insane turn of events for the Kansas City Chiefs to be missing 3 of their top 4 wide receivers multiple weeks in a second consecutive season. I hope that is not the case. I hope that it was just a stinger. I hope that there's no damage. If it's structural damage, so that's a rotator's cuff if it's structural stuff, most probably. If it's structural, it's a rotator's cuff, which could, to the best of my recollection, if there's rotator cuff stuff, it's basically always months or your season is done. So hopefully that is not the case. Number 5, this is not the end of the world. You usually have to win 10 games to get into the playoffs. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's a little bit less. But usually, around 10 wins secures a wild card spot. That means the Kansas City Chiefs have 16 shots to win 10 of those games. Neither is the division out of reach. The final week of the season last year was a divisional game, and the Chiefs had enough built up, had stored enough in the bank, that they could afford to take the week off. But, so the reason I say that, it's a long season. The Chiefs purposely lost a game last year in the division at the end of the year, and it didn't matter. This does, however, mean that they have to be buttoned up moving forward. I said that this team was not entirely unprepared, and I believe that. Neither, however, was it entirely prepared. There were some loose ends, there was some rugged stuff, there were some moments where you thought, I don't think that was supposed to go that way. If you weren't here last night, one of the things that I said, the Xavier Worthy injury. I'm not a football expert. I was not calling the plays. Normally, as I understand it, you've got that mesh route concept called, right? Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce. Boom, they're cutting across. It's a pick play. It is just straight up a pick play. But the way they get away with it is both players have to feign looking at the quarterback. When in all reality, here's Travis Kelce, here's Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy's the guy whose number is really being called there. If the play works right, Xavier Worthy's going to catch that pass. In order for that to work, Travis Kelce has to be keeping an eye on Xavier Worthy. To the best of my knowledge, I'm parsing my words because I don't want to talk out of school. If you go back and you watch the play, I believe it was Travis Kelce's responsibility to look at to look at Xavier Worthy for a few different reasons. Number one, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have Xavier Worthy blocking for Travis Kelce. Xavier Worthy's not going to be shoving his face between a linebacker's numbers. Doesn't work that way very often. And if it does have to work that way very often, Xavier Worthy's not going to win very many of them. Number two, Xavier Worthy, when you watch the playback, does not care where Travis Kelce is. He is not looking at Travis Kelce one iota. Travis Kelce, however, is looking multiple places on that play. And I think he runs into him. That was not supposed to happen. The offense has to be more buttoned up than that moving forward. Speaking of buttoned up, this includes not letting the first quarters of games get away from them. The Chiefs' first 3 drives were essentially garbage time. And sometimes you can have successful 3 and outs. That sounds stupid, but what happens in a successful 3 and out is that you were priming the defense for something. Just like in a magic trick. I take the card here and I switch it to this hand all while I'm gesturing with this hand. So I have your attention here while I'm moving this around, right? That's what Andy Reid does calling offensive plays. And he does that a lot early in games. Sometimes the setup plays don't work, but they're still in the back of the defense's mind. To the best of my abilities, I could not find anything that the Chiefs were setting up with those plays. Meaning, that offensive time in those first 3 drives was just gone. Just gone. That has to improve, in my opinion, moving forward. The final thing is this. Lay off the defense. A little bit. Week 1 last season, Lamar Jackson, probably a better quarterback, but a worse passer than Justin Herbert, threw for 273 yards and a touchdown. But he also added 122 yards rushing. Justin Herbert, for what it's worth, 318 yards passing, I believe, and 50-ish yards rushing, including that final 14-yard scamper. So, Lamar Jackson last year probably had a better overall, maybe not better, a more effective overall game than Justin Herbert, even though the Ravens lost. Justin Herbert had a good game. Justin Herbert has a 5,000-yard passing season under his belt in the NFL. Good games are going to happen once in a while for Justin Herbert. That game last year, the Ravens scored 20 points, just 1 touchdown different than the Chargers' 27 points from last night. The defense ended last season just fine. The argument could be that the Ravens were a better team than are the Chargers here in 2025. The 2024 Ravens were a better team than this year's Chargers, maybe. And, frankly, the Chiefs made the Chargers have to beat them the way that you would want them to. Last year's Ravens went 12-5. Last year's Chargers went 11-6. This season, the Chargers open up with the Chiefs, and the Chiefs made the Chargers beat them exactly how it is that you would have hoped the Chiefs would make the Chargers beat them. Ladd McConkey went 6 for 74 yards. Keenan Allen went 7 for 68 yards and a touchdown. Nice nights, but nothing incredible. Omarion Hampton went 15 for 48. That's a 3.2 yard average. You would have said before this game, if I had asked you, hey, what do you want the Chargers to have to pull off in order to beat the Kansas City Chiefs tonight? You would have looked me in the eyes and you would have said, make Quentin Johnston beat you. That's what you would have said. The only problem is, he did. He went 5 for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. Maybe the sun even shines on a dog's butt once in a while. Or maybe he's a 6'3" wide receiver with a 4.5 240-yard dash and a 40-inch vertical with nearly 34-inch arms, and he's starting to figure things out. It could be that is the answer as well. It could be that Justin Herbert had 3 70-yard performers and a tight end who went off for 50 yards, and that's kind of going to be their offense. Would you like to have Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnston when all of a sudden you were running without 3 of your top 4 wide receivers? I bet that you would. So, there's time for this to come around. This was not a great game, but it wasn't that bad of a game either. That is all I have for this video. I will be back tomorrow with what we learned from the offense video, and a what we learned from the defense video. So hitting the like button really does help me out. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about. There are 2 playlists and a video on your screen right now that YouTube thinks you will enjoy. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.